It's all over in Philly. The final score 112-93. The Kings were never in this game. They were down 8 at the end of the first quarter. They got blown out in the second quarter. Um, I mean, they were never in the game. Philadelphia did not have Embiid. They didn't have Covington. The Kings' offense was terrible. Terrible. The Sixers' defense smothered them. The Sixers got inside the lane anytime they wanted to. And once again, here's a loss where the Kings aren't competitive. We bring in Ryan in Sacktown. Ryan, I mean, how many times have you and I come on a post-game show talking about either a lopsided win or a lopsided loss? It's unbelievable to me.
Nearly every night of the season. It's the Kings' MO. Close games are rare around these parts.
You look at the Kings' three-point shooting. Again, when they don't shoot threes, they can't win because they don't know how. They don't do anything else. They just don't do anything else. That's all they do. They shoot threes, and if they're making their threes, they look really good because then that opens up the rest of their offense. And if they're not making threes, you see what happens. I don't know. I'm frustrated tonight. The reason for that is you have an opportunity without the best player, arguably in the league, in Joel Embiid. I think the guy was the leading MVP candidate or right up there. He doesn't play, and Philadelphia still knocks your socks off,
Yeah, Philly still, they teach you a lesson. I mean, and Grant, you look at Philly's record, it's better than the Kings, but I mean, they're fair comps of the Kings to the Eastern Conference, and look at how much better they are, just more complete as a team than this Kings team.
My own opinion, if they played 10 times, I don't think the Kings would win more than 2 games, if that. I just don't. I don't like the way they match up with this team. I really don't.
Yeah, I still think that's a little low. I don't even think the Kings attempted to try to go inside tonight, number one. So that's a starting point. I think they get more than 2, though, Grant.
I don't. I don't. And this, remember, you're watching a Philadelphia team with an MVP candidate on the floor.
True, but it's a different ball game when he is on the floor and Covington's on the floor as well.
All right. Well, all that matters is you lose. Now you got to get ready for Milwaukee, who blew out Boston last night. They caught Boston at a good time after their overtime win the night before against Minnesota. But all right, so you're now 2-1 in this road trip, but you didn't play Charlotte tonight. You didn't play Detroit. You played one of the better teams in the East, albeit they were shorthanded. But you can see why Philadelphia is as good as they are. They're well coached, and what I mean by that, Ryan, their attention to detail, I was impressed with. You know where I'm going with that? Like
100%.
they don't take a lot of bad shots. They don't miss a lot of defensive assignments. Everyone seems to really understand their role. And I thought that was very apparent in this game tonight for Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's a great point. Also, just not a lot of wasted movement either. They're just so efficient. They know what they're doing. So, yeah, and that's what the Kings want to be. That's what they're trying to be. And I mean, when you have, it shows the importance, Grant, of the 6, 7, 8, 9th guys on your team, to where if you have a night where your star is out, those guys can step up and play that leading role.
Okay, now with everything said, I'm really surprised the Kings did not play a more competitive game. I thought that the Kings would make this game close. I didn't say they were going to win, but I thought this would be a close game. And so that probably disappoints me more than anything, Ryan, the fact that they weren't even competitive in this game. This game was over at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, the run never came from this team. You look at the 3-ball percentage tonight, Grant, just it wasn't there. It's not a winning 3-point percentage, 22.9%. And when the 3-ball is not falling, we see the tendency of the team not to bring energy, right? But in the last couple of nights or the last couple of wins, we've seen the opposite. We've seen physical play inside, lots of points in the paint. Tonight, 34 points in the paint, Grant, with Embiid out. So if you didn't shoot the 3-ball well, you didn't take care of the paint. What did you do well? You didn't, and that's why you have 93 points.
No. Sacramento falls to 6th in the West right now at 23-15. And understand how important that is. I don't care how good you think your team is. I don't care what your record is. you don't want to take a chance of a play-in tournament. Like at the end of the year, if you're 7, 8, 9, or 10, that's not an area you want to be in. So these games, every one of them are so darn important, right?
Well, it'd be the ultimate, especially for the Kings. It's the ultimate coin flip. If you're talking play-in, does the three ball fall or not? The way this team's constructed now.
Yeah. All right. Again, the Kings fall tonight. You see any positives? I know you just kind of went over it a little bit, but do you see any positives?
Oh, great question, Grant. No. I mean, nothing that jumps off the page to me. I mean, you still see Keegan Murray making strides, trying to make strides. Same old story with Harrison Barnes, the two guard position. I mean, you and I were talking off air about that. That one's so up in the air. I mean, it's an open competition for it right now. Not much. I mean, anything stick out to you?
No. Again, I didn't like the
So
free
bad.
throws. The free throws again weren't good. I'm trying to look at some positives here.
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes was invisible again. I mean, I wouldn't even have known that Harrison Barnes was on the floor if I didn't, know that he was number 40. I mean, like there was a point where he touched the ball and I'm like, oh my God, Harrison's playing. Like I didn't even know he was on the floor. I'm trying to think if there were any positives tonight. Okay. I thought Keegan Murray played pretty well for the most part, particularly in the first half. But, I'm reaching right now. You know what I mean? I'm reaching. There wasn't a lot to really be excited about from a Sacramento Kings perspective. I'm glancing at the box score again just to refresh my mind, but I don't see anything that sticks out to me that was positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered the players, Grant, but let's not leave the coaches out. They're not exempt from this
No,
conversation.
no.
Mike Brown, I thought the challenge, very good job, great challenge. Call gets overturned, but inability to adjust tonight. It wasn't there. I mean, there were times where pressure was working defensively for the
Yeah.
Kings, and then it just stopped. So adjustments, I feel like we're not seeing as many as at least I would like to see.
Well, the Kings didn't shoot well overall, 33%, 21% from the arc. Their free throws actually were better at 80%, but I don't like the players that are missing the free throws like Fox. He shouldn't be missing these many free throws. Philadelphia, meanwhile, they're the best free throw shooting team in the league, and you can see why. They
Yeah.
went to the line 18 times, they made 17. They're the best free throw shooting team in the NBA, and they showed it tonight. But there was, I guess the thing that disappointed me the most is how easily Philadelphia scored tonight in the paint. Like, how many times did they beat the Kings on
Yeah.
dribble penetration, and then one simple pass led to a dunk,
Yeah, no, it's a great point. They caught the Kings. They were prepared for the Kings rotations. It just felt like Philly was one step ahead, and that's why they're where they're at in the Eastern Conference. And they're only better when Embiid's on the floor with them.
All right. Again, we appreciate everybody joining us here, even though it's a tough game to talk about because the Kings were thoroughly outplayed. Hey, remember, if you have any plumbing issues, you need repairs, New Works Plumbing will be there for you. 24/7 service. You go to sackserviceplumbing.com or you can call the number on your screen. That's New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. Plumbing needs, plumbing repairs, plumbing questions. They are awesome. That's New Works Plumbing. Again, sackserviceplumbing.com. They've got a fix for you. They don't have a fix for the Kings, though, when they play this way against let's face it, Philadelphia, even without the players on the floor, they're good, and they showed it tonight. And I think Jerry made a good point at halftime. You kind of knew that Philadelphia was going to bring an A game after their losing streak and the fact that they lost their last game in overtime to Atlanta, coming back home. This was a big game in this Eastern Conference for the Sixers to kind of stay afloat while they are waiting for their big man to come back.
It certainly was. And don't take for granted the fact that when teams see the Kings on the schedule, that's a big game now for them.
Yes.
The Kings are considered a good team, so you're going to get every team's best shot most nights.
And I think you're going to get Milwaukee's best shot coming up here in the next game.
Well, I think you will, Grant, but they're on a back-to-back, and they play Golden State tomorrow. That's going to be brutal. I think that's a national TV game.
Good point. And that game obviously is in Milwaukee, so there's no
Yes.
travel involved. But you're right; they are catching that. That is a big game. Now the Warriors, they have just tanked. I mean, by tanked, I mean they're playing.
Well,
Uh,
Chris
they're in
Paul.
Chicago tonight, and they're beating Chicago. But my point is, they're not playing well at all right now.
Well, they're in shambles in terms of direction. What's going on? Draymond's coming back. Chris Paul's surgery. Steph, the clock's ticking.
Yeah.
So, and trade deadline coming up.
Oh boy. And if you believe the reports coming out of San Francisco, everyone on the team's available except for Steph Curry.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, Andrew Wiggins,
I would.
underachieving.
Yeah.
Look at Moody. You could get some real value for him. Kaminga, same thing. Draymond Green. I get that he comes with problems. I get that he comes with drama, but he could help the right locker room that could absorb it.
This question, granted, the Kings know how to bring their A game, or does it just happen when it happened? All right, that's a very good question, and I don't have the answer, but I'm going to say this because I firmly believe this. I don't think the Kings are as good as the record indicates. That's my opinion. I think they're a good team. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I think the Kings are a good team. Okay. I don't think their team is capable of winning a championship, and I don't think they're capable of winning more than a playoff series, if that. That would be, to me, their maximum. I just don't see it. They have too many deficiencies, in my opinion, to be a real threat in the postseason. And unless the makeup of this team changes between now and next month at the trade deadline, I don't think you're going to see any change. You are who you are at this point in the season. And again, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. The Kings are a good team. They're a playoff team. But quite frankly, I have real reservations if they're going to end up a top 6 team in the West this year. I really do. I'm not there yet. Okay, I'm really not. I think they're right on the bubble between 6, 7, and 8. I just that's how I see it.
Yeah, they're a good team, but Grant, they look, and this is where everybody can chime in, or this is where you take a deep dive into the numbers. They look like a conflicted team. And I think that mixed with their good record is what makes it so confusing and so hard with this eye test. But just, I don't know if the guys aren't buying in on certain parts of what they're being asked to
Right.
do, or,
Yeah.
I'm throwing things at the wall, but they look conflicted.
Help me out here. Were you listening to what I was saying, Ryan? So maybe you can help out. Did Grant just say the Kings aren't a good team? What did I just say?
No,
What did I think? I repeated myself 3 times. What did I say?
not at any point. Grant was simply saying that this team has problems. Their record is good, but this team
Thank you.
has problems. They have to get addressed, whether that's on the trade deadline or otherwise. But the team has problems.
I actually said the Kings are a good team. And I said, I don't want to misconstrue what I'm saying because the Kings are a good team. All right. So
Exactly.
get your hearing checked. All right, Grant, you need to call out Mike Brown. What do you want me to call out Mike Brown for? Okay. I'm not saying that he is not to blame when the team doesn't play well or doesn't look like they're all on the same page. I think that Mike Brown deserves some criticism, but I keep on looking at the big picture here. Okay. And the big picture is, quite frankly, the Kings are where I thought they would be at this point in the season. All right. I don't know about you, Ryan, but the Sacramento Kings right now, even with the loss tonight, are 23-15. Okay.
Yeah.
8 games
Yeah.
over 500. That's pretty much where I
Yeah.
expected them. So, like, how much am I going to get on Mike Brown? Did I think the Kings were going to be, where Minnesota and Oklahoma City are right now? No, I never thought that. I don't think they're that good to be there. I think the Kings are pretty much within a 2 or 3 games, either way, pretty much right where I think they should be.
Yeah, but then you could get into that classic discussion. Okay, well, they're right where they should be, in your opinion, but oh my gosh, how much better could it have been?
Well, you go ahead, answer your question. How much better could have it been? I
Well,
personally, I don't know.
Well, if we're going to apply this to the entire season, you tack on a couple of wins. Charlotte at home, you get that one back for sure. What would you say? There's 3 games like that. Grant, Washington, I think, was one of them, where the Kings just completely blew it at home. You get those back. Those kinds of things. They would be better there. They
All
would
right.
be more towards that 55 team win.
Okay. How many games do you think the Kings have won this year where maybe they shouldn't have won?
Mm.
There's at least one or two. So I understand the
Yeah,
point you're
yeah,
making.
sure.
And by the way, I
Yeah.
think I think every team in the league could say this. I don't want to get off on a tangent here because I think the Kings are a good team. I just think that our expectations rose a lot because of what happened last year, right? You won 48
100%.
games. You were third in the West. You went to a 7-game series with Golden State, and you got beat by one of the great players of his generation in Steph Curry. And so I looked at last season as nothing but a positive. But now I want to build on that. And I keep on saying this, and I'm going to say it again. I personally feel that last year's Kings team at this time of the year was a better team. 12 months ago, I think that the Kings team was better than they are now. Now, could that change? Of course it could change. But I had a lot more confidence in last year's Kings team at this point in the year than I do with this team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, but that comes with the caveat of things have changed for this
Yep.
team in terms of the way that other teams play them.
And you made this point, and I've made this point, and so is Jerry, and I think everyone knows the West is better this year, right?
Much better. It's not dealing with the amount of injuries
right.
to its stars that it did last year.
Well, look at the teams that are significantly better this year. Minnesota is significantly better. Oklahoma City is significantly better. The Clippers are significantly better. New Orleans is significantly better, right? Dallas is significantly better because they didn't even make the playoffs last year.
Are they? Well, they didn't make the playoffs, but arguably they tanked.
At the end of the season, the last week they tanked. I don't think they tanked before that. They still were playing Luka and Kyrie.
They were in contention. Yes,
but
they were in contention until that last week.
But they're 20. Yeah, but to me, being in contention for the 10th spot, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they
that's fair. That's fair.
But what I would say is, I think we could all agree that the West is much better this year, or significantly better, whatever. And the Kings pretty much are the same as last year, give or take a few games, right? I don't know what their record was last year at this point, but it's similar, is it not? Right?
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, it's the record this year is better, but yeah, last year's team was better. I don't think the West, it's that middle tier of teams that you just ran off, and I know you didn't say OKC. I think it's that tier that's improved so much because I look at Denver. I don't think Denver's gotten that much better. Now, I'm not taking anything away from them. They are still great, but what did they do to get that much better?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mention Denver in that mix. But, hey, we're not even at the halfway point. We're getting close to the halfway point. I mean, we're getting there, but you're at the halfway point during this next homestand, I think. But I'm looking at the big picture because I always like to look at the big picture. I don't see how this team would win a playoff series against the teams that I just mentioned: Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, New Orleans, and the Clippers. Like, I don't know how they would win a series against them based on what I've seen so far. I just don't. Now, maybe Oklahoma City, and I'm saying that, Ryan, being full aware that they're second in the West, but you and I talk about this, and it's about matchups. I like the way they match up with Oklahoma City. I don't like the way they match up with other teams.
Yeah, and the other thing here, Mike Brown has pretty much a healthy roster now. I know Kevin Huerter is hurt, but Alex Len didn't play against a lot of the teams that you mentioned, so he's gotten a lot more run since he's been back, and I like the element that he's brought to that second unit.
All right. Again, we're very happy to have you join us right here. And don't forget about Bennett's, their prime seafood and steak. Great place. This is Bennett's Westside Grill. It is their newest location. It is at the Blue Oaks Town Center in Rockland. If you go to bennettsrestaurants.com, you can make a reservation, check out the menu, and more. Bennett's is awesome for the prime seafood and steak. Don't forget about their weekend brunch as well. 60 different types of wine available by the glass. That is Bennett's. Again, go to bennettsrestaurants.com for more information. Sacramento tonight did not have it. They got beat by a good Philadelphia team. And not only did they get beat, they got beat badly. They got beat badly. So we'll see if they
They
can bounce
did.
back.
Hey, hey, you can't say though that the Kings did not have their opportunities tonight. I mean, they could have easily made a game out of this. I mean, you asked me earlier in the show, a positive from tonight, 17 offensive rebounds, Grant. 17 offensive rebounds tonight for
Yeah,
the Kings.
but
But only
that's
12 check. Okay.
yeah, but that's because they missed a lot of shots. There were more offensive rebounds to be had because they missed so many shots.
That's true, but at least they're getting them. That they're getting second chances. They're not cashing it. I mean, you can miss all those shots and be one and done.
I thought the Kings did a good job at back tapping the ball on the offensive glass tonight to an open man. I thought that was good, which obviously is an offensive rebound. So, listen, I don't make too much out of any game. I don't. And I'm not going to make too much out of this game. But these type of games reinforce to me where the Kings are versus the upper echelon teams in the league. And I still think there's a separation. That's all. And you make a good point. You're taking on Milwaukee, and they're playing tomorrow night against Golden State. So you are catching them on a back-to-back. So we'll see if that makes a difference.
Yep. Rest up and get your guys ready. You want to take a couple calls today?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Cool. So we're going to throw the link in. If you want to give us a live call, please do so. No nudity, no cursing. Keep it YouTube appropriate, please. But we'd love to have you. You guys have been great. It's been a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, there's the link right there. And if you want to join us, we would be happy to have you on. All right, Grant and Ryan, I don't like the excuses of players being tired, bench players being cold from sitting and waiting, et cetera. Even back-to-back when those happen, are those legit excuses? Listen.
Define excuse.
Yeah, it's not an excuse. Now, I think there are some times during a year where it used to be where if you're playing 4 games in 5 nights, you can make an excuse that you were tired on the 4th game. But with the training and with everything at these players' disposal and, blah, 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 no, I'm with you. I don't like making excuses, and I know Ryan doesn't either.
And I understand these guys play at an extremely high level, but at the end of the day, we're talking about 48 minutes in a regular game of an elite athlete's day. 48 minutes.
All right, let's get to some folks here. Great to have you on the post-game show again. Good to always get your insight. Give me your thoughts on what you saw tonight.
Well, I think it's pathetic in the modern NBA that we could struggle and barely score 90 points. Like, we barely hit that within the last 2 minutes. I think that's a terrible thing, especially when the opposing team doesn't have their best player and defensive anchor, Joel Embiid.
It is pretty bad. I mean, you're right. I can't – it's bad. You score only 93. You're very rarely going to see a Kings team score less than 100 when they have their full complement of players. And tonight they had their full complement of players by and large, no herder. But, yeah, I'm with you. Very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Yeah, you, Ryan, again?
I can't speak to situations and who the Kings had and didn't have in each game, but this has been something that's happened a lot this year where the Kings have barely scored 90 points. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule: 89 points, 97 points, 98 points, 93 points. So it's not out of the norm, Connor.
Yeah, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, several of those games were without Fox, correct?
Some of those games were without Fox, but there are still 99. That was the game at the Clippers. You've got 90,
good point.
98 Minnesota.
Hey, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much. All right, you take care.
All right, you guys too. Go Kings.
Really appreciate the feedback. And again, if you want to come on the post game, it is easy to do. Who do we have here next? We got John. What's going on, John? John. All right, he's not ready to go, so we'll put him back up on the screen in the audience. Happy to have everybody joining us. If you want to get in on the post-game show, it is fairly easy to do so. You just hit that link. And yeah, go ahead,
Hey,
buddy.
John, less typing and more talking when we come to you. Okay? Less typing.
I love it. Let's get to Teddy. Hello, Teddy. You're on with Grant and Ryan.
What's up in the house?
What's up,
What's
Teddy?
Not much. You think the Kings can get Clay?
Teddy, you there?
Yeah.
Speak up. We can't hear you.
Okay. You think we can get Clay Thompson from the Warriors?
You're not good. Not good. All right.
I got it. Do you think we could get Klay Thompson from the Warriors?
Yeah, I think you could, but I mean, it would be a short-term deal, and I don't think you'd have to give up a lot, but he's making a ton of money. So financially, I don't think the Kings could do that.
I don't think that's your fourth piece or fourth max player that you want to build this, window or whatever you want to call it around.
I think you make a good point. All right, let's get to James. James, how are you today, James?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Good. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. What can we do for you?
Yeah, what's up, James?
Yes. So what I was thinking was with the Kings, they always seem to have problems playing teams when their top guys are out. And I'm wondering if I'm asking your opinion, Grant, since you've been with since you were with the team for so long, does it seem like the Kings, when they have a game plan to go against teams at full strength, that when they find out they're not at full strength, they're not executing maybe a backup plan properly, or maybe they don't have a good game plan as a backup when top players are out?
It's a very good question. Sometimes, yes, but we knew that Joel Embiid wasn't going to play way before the game plan went in for this contest. So in this particular instance, no. But I think you do make a good point. If it's a last-minute scratch, that sometimes will affect the way you approached and went through shoot-around and attention to detail. My own opinion, and Ryan disagrees with me a little bit on this, but I just think Philadelphia is a superior team than Sacramento. I think they're a much better defensive team. I think they're more athletic. I think they're just a better all-around team. And I just think the Kings have a difficult time matching up. I saw it against the Sixers last year. They got killed in Philadelphia with Embiid, and they got but they lost in Sacramento badly. I think it was a bad game without Harden and without Embiid. So to me, the supporting cast of Philadelphia, just for whatever reason, has the Kings number. They only play twice a year, but the last three games that stick out in my mind, the Kings haven't been competitive with Philadelphia.
Yeah. Hey, James, I appreciate you being here, by the way. James always at the pregame show, too, so thank you for that.
Awesome.
Here's what I would tell you, too, James, I would add. Look, injuries happen in games, which change game plans all the time. So whether there's a healthy scratch 45 minutes before the game, or like Grant said, we knew Embiid a couple days before the game, they're professional athletes. They should be able to adjust.
Yep. Good stuff. We really appreciate everyone taking the time to come on the stream with us, and we'll get to Dash. Dash, what can we do for you? What's your question?
More than a question, just sort of an observation. I know, Grant, we try to be the optimist. I myself as well. We say one game. But now it's like a series of games, right? We have New Orleans without Zion. We have tonight without Embiid. We have Boston without Jason Tatum. And guess what? We got blown out in all three of them. It's not one game anymore. It's just when this team is hemorrhaging points, we shoot up three after three, brick after brick. And when it's going in, it's great. And when it's not, nobody knows how to stop that bleeding. And we said the same thing last time. We said the same thing tonight. Unfortunate.
Dash, you're 100% correct. And it's the reason why I don't have a lot of confidence with this team, assuming that they're in the playoffs. I just don't. I think they're a one-dimensional team. That's it. They're a one-dimensional team. And when they shoot the ball like they did against Detroit and like Charlotte, everything looks great and everybody's happy. But on nights when you don't shoot the ball well, this is what happens. And you bring up a good point about some of the teams you just mentioned. Think about Boston, think about New Orleans, and think about Philadelphia. all without dynamic players on the floor. No Tatum, no Horford for Boston, no Zion Williamson for New Orleans, no Embiid, no Covington tonight. And as you point out, you're not even competitive in these games. That's alarming to me. That's very alarming.
So almost, Grant and Dash, I wouldn't give credence to, well, why do the Kings take it easy when a star player is not playing against them? And maybe start thinking, hey, they would have been blown out by about 15 points more had Tatum played that game. Had you know what I mean? Had whoever else, Portland's 3 guys played that game, it would have been that much worse, you know?
Yeah. I don't think we are taking it easy. I think we're in trouble, and hopefully we figure it out. Thank you, guys.
Dash. Good job right there. Really appreciate it. This is great, man, taking questions. I absolutely love this. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Let's get to Andrew next. Andrew, welcome on the Postgame show. How are you? Oh, we can't hear Andrew. You don't have your mic on.
Can't hear you, Andrew.
Sorry, guys.
Oh,
thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
What I wanted to talk about was everyone keeps asking why, like, what's going on, what's the problem. It's just, to me, it's just much deeper than almost in basketball. It's a culture of winning that the Kings haven't had in so long that other teams kind of just look at us and they're just not afraid. They just, we're just a W to them, and we just haven't gotten to the point where we're feared. I'm not trying to go back into the past, but does Harrison Barnes hit that shot against the Warriors last year? I truly think this is a truly completely different team, different franchise as it is today. It is what it is.
Okay. But I first of all, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and your question's a fair one. But I'm also going to say that the Kings are 8 games over 500. They're 23-15. And, they beat Minnesota at Minnesota. They got 2 wins against Oklahoma City. They've got wins against good teams this year. It's not like they don't know how to play. I think the biggest issue that we're dealing with, Andrew, and I've talked about this with Ryan and Jerry a lot, is their inconsistency. All right. Their inconsistencies, I should say. This team is so inconsistent. Ryan put up a graphic recently about the Kings' stats when they win compared to when they lose. And I think my biggest issue this year with the team, Andrew, is how many games they've played in their first 38 where they have not been competitive. That's alarming to me. A team that's good with a record like this should not be blown out as many times as the Kings have. That's my biggest issue, Andrew. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm with you, Grant. The consistency of how this team will play on a night-to-night basis.
But Andrew, they are 23-15. Let's not forget about that, okay?
I know I'm not forgetting about it. I'm not, and last year we were in same position, and it just kind of seems like the inconsistency is. It just feels like we live and die by the 3. Everyone knows that, but other teams just kind of don't think of us as a competitive basketball organization. And so we kind of just need to start one playoff series. I think one playoff series changes that. We win one, everything changes.
Well, I don't agree with you about your assessment about what other teams think about the Kings. I disagree with you. I think that they feel like they're playing a very good team when they play Sacramento. That's my opinion.
For instance, when we play New Orleans, Brandon Ingram just goes off. For instance, when we play All-Stars just go off against us. They just do. It is what it is.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Ryan. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Ryan.
Guys. Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. Other thing I was just going to say really quick to your point, Andrew, and to that point overall is just it's a Kings team. If we have these lofty expectations of them, this is not a sample size. This is not an appropriate sample size. We're talking about 1 year in which they had a very good year, and we're not even to the All-Star break the following year.
Good point.
So you need a bigger sample size than that. Rome was not built overnight.
That's a good point. Let's get overseas. Dobro Jutro. Baki, how are you, sir?
Hey.
I'm not so good. I'm so pissed off because, I'm a big NBA fan. and
We know that.
I'd rather watch another game, but I'm going home to watch the Kings, and I'm sitting and watching the Queens.
Yep.
I don't like that kind of energy. I mean, I need you. You said about Oklahoma. So watch Oklahoma City. They all. I mean, they have the same, maybe the same. Maybe in 2 or 3 games they will have the same score as we have now, if they lose 2 or 3 games more. But look at their games. They're playing with so energy. How many times we're gonna lose the game after, or win the game after losing by 20? Okay, we must lose by
Baki,
20 to start to play the game. How many games
Baki,
we lose? How many games we lose after 1 quarter? Only first quarter, and we lose the game. How many times?
Baki,
I mean,
Baki,
this is
Baki, you've only missed one Kings game since 2004, which is crazy because that's some bad basketball during some of those stretches. But
NBA is
here,
on, man. NBA is on.
let's the NBA is great, but this Kings team, what's your expectation, Baki?
Well,
I guess it yeah.
I'm thinking over day by day, and I think that in the end we're gonna end up with uh, playoff series, first round, where we're gonna play 100% energy, 100% everything, but we're gonna end up having luck or not. So we are gonna like the last year. We could win the game. We got that game 6. After the game 5, everybody thought, okay, this is over. Golden State's gonna win it by 4 games to 2, and we go to San Francisco and we crush them in number 6, right, Grant?
Yep. Crushed them. Yep.
Yeah, we crushed that game. So then everybody thought, okay, this is now Kings time, game number 7. And then we stopped. We stopped like this season. This is the only game, that was the only game we played, I don't know, confusing basketball. Grant has right. The team was, last year, they know what to do in every game.
Okay,
But
so
this time, I don't know. I don't know what is with
yes.
Mike Brown. I don't know.
Okay, I think, and so we're all trying to put our finger on this. I think it's a parlay of a few things, Baki. But here's what you need to understand: it wasn't just Game 5, Game 6. That started in Game 3. That is where the Kings lost that playoff series.
Yep.
If the Kings won that game, that would have been a very hard road for a Golden State team that had a reason to go behind the bar and lay down. So anyways,
Maybe.
ever since whatever that moment was, Game 3, the loss as a whole, this Sacramento Kings team last year was playing the team in front of them. But every night now, this Sacramento Kings team, they play 2 teams. They play the team in front of them and they play themselves.
But I think that last year, that Golden State team wasn't better than the Kings from the last year. Maybe the last year.
But I disagree with you. I'm going to tell you why. They were better because they had Steph Curry. That was the difference in the series. They had Steph Curry, and as good as personally, I think if Fox had not broken his finger, I think the Kings would have won that series. But when he broke his finger, Steph Curry was without question the best player on the floor for both teams.
But do you think that even not breaking that finger will bring the Kings on top of the Golden State?
No, I think if Fox had not broken his finger with the way he had been playing, we'll never know. But let's move on to this year, because last year is in the books and last year doesn't matter. The Kings right now have deficiencies, and you can't just say, well, when the playoffs start, they're going to be this and no. You play 82 games for a reason. Okay, you develop an identity, you develop a style, you develop about what you are. The playoffs aren't going to start, Baki, and the Kings are just going to be a different team. First of all, they got to make the playoffs. Okay, there's no assurance that they're going to be in the playoffs. So
Yes, but do you think that Kings gonna make the playoffs this year?
I do.
think that you think that they're gonna do.
I do think they're going to make the playoffs. But if they lose De'Aaron Fox or Domantas Sabonis for any period of time, they're going to fall in the standings like a brick out of a window.
They will fall out of the contention. I agree. But normally I expect them to enter the playoffs, even to escape from the play-in zone. So playoff directly.
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
But because we're gonna win the games. Okay. Our score is good, but now we have only score.
Our scoring's not good. When
Not
they
like
score, they score. But
I mean, our
last
score
year,
is better than we play. Our score is better than we play.
Baki, do you guys remember last year? Like when the Kings had 2 games, they were right around 100 points, and everybody's like, "My goodness,
Yeah.
how could this team score around 100 points?" And there's so many games this year they've done it.
Yeah.
So
Yes, but
it's just
last year you got
it's a different
last
team.
year. Last year you got the Kings, whom after 10 games nobody expect we go to the playoffs. Really, last year.
Yeah, of course they
They
started
s-
off 0-4. But again, we
they
got to
started-
stop
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
we got to stop talking
Yeah,
about
it's
last
this
year
year.
so much.
Yeah.
We got to last year. Forget about last year. I bring it up occasionally, but we need to stop talking about last year. Last year doesn't mean anything for this year. It means nothing. This team has. I mean, I don't care how much you love the Kings or don't like the Kings. You're naive, and I'm not saying you, Baki. I'm just saying fans are naive if they think there aren't some real issues going on with this team. The inconsistencies of this team are alarming to me, and I've been saying this a lot. And games like this reinforce to me how inconsistent this team is. And this is not a recipe for success long term, being this inconsistent. It's just not.
But simply you don't know when to expect to bring the top game of the Kings. I don't know
Exactly.
if you can point one game and said now the Kings will gonna be the true. Even the bad teams makes us losing by 5, by 10, by
I
15.
know.
Then we go back, then we go up 15, and then something like that. But we can't catch one game that we have from the start. Maybe one, maybe the last game we have from the start to the finish. But I don't know.
But Bucky, that's against one of the worst teams in the league. That doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't
me
care
too.
about kicking someone's ass for 48 minutes. That's one of the worst teams in the league. That doesn't mean much to me. I want to see the Kings do what they did. Ryan and I last year, and I'm kind of now biting my tongue here because I'm going back to last year. I thought the Kings' best game last year was the loss they had at home to Milwaukee. I thought that's the
100%.
best game they played all year, and they lost.
Spot on, partner.
Right.
Spot
but
on.
we need those games. Okay, let's lose the game, but properly.
Yep. Hey, buddy, you, Baki, have a good morning. Thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate you. Good stuff.
Thanks, Baki.
He's good.
I was going to ask Baki.
I love his passion. I love his passion
Too. I was going to ask Baki.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, what do you do for a living? You know, like you have to go through HR training.
He's right here. Baki, you still with us? All right. He wants to know, what do you do for a job? What do you do for a living?
What do you do for a living, Baki?
I have my own company, and I have all the stuff settled, and it's about IT sector development, networks, blah blah blah. So I can help you with the issues.
Appreciate you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Love it. Thank you, sir. So I was going to ask you, because sometimes in training, there's that like faith fall thing, right? Where all the employees line up behind you and you have to have faith if you're going to fall back, they're going to catch you. That's what this team is.
Trust me.
That's what watching.
Yeah. I'm a very hard worker. Very.
I don't doubt that whatsoever.
I took my life like I'm going to choose when I'm going to work and when I'm going to enjoy.
I love it.
Okay. I enjoy my Kings.
Good for you.
I enjoy other stuff. I enjoy doing with my family, but That's it.
Thank you, buddy.
Good for you.
Take care, Baki.
Thank
That's
you,
good
Bucks.
stuff. I love it. How great is that, huh? Man,
You know what? Whatever is on his mind to do, he
I
does
love
it to the fullest. It's
I
good
love that
stuff.
guy. Hey, I want to tell you about Calusa Sunrise. You go to calusasunrise.com and you can check out the newest development by Blazona Development. It is Sunrise Landing in Calusa. 6 models to choose from. No Mellorews, no homeowners. It's Sunrise Landing in Calusa. Phase 1 already sold out. Check it out by going to calusasunrise.com. That's calusasunrise.com. That is Sunrise Landing. All right, Kings with a bad performance tonight. They got beat by Philadelphia pretty much wire to wire. Kings had a lead early in the first quarter. All right, we got Dash back now. He is with us. Hello, Dash.
Hey guys,
What's up,
I had
Dash?
to come back. So we know the issues that exist. We're talking about last season. We're talking about tonight. From all the names you've heard, right? Zach LaVine, Siakam, Jeremy Grant's coming back into the picture. I know he was in the picture a couple of years ago as well.
Yep.
What do you guys think? What's gonna help us make that change? Because to me, apart from Malik, Fox, and Sabonis, it's just been inconsistency across the board. Harrison has taken a step down.
Yep.
Keegan has been inconsistent. Sasha, we all know, is having his troubles.
Well, let me
But
ask
I
you,
don't know if
Dash.
he's
Dash,
that-
are you willing to give up Keegan Murray to get Siakam?
You know, and I hate to go back to
Dash, who may not re-sign with you.
right.
That's
He's
correct.
only signed through
we
this
can't.
season.
And we can't give up Keegan if he's not re-signing. Let's just put it that way. And I know Masai's a great GM, so he milks you whenever he makes a trade.
Yep.
But I don't want to go back to the Hallie trade, but I feel like we did need to give a Buddy, but that's all water under the bridge. But I feel like Jeremy Grant is not a very efficient player. He's not a great 3-point shooter. Zach LaVine, same thing, and injuries. I think Siakam is the one player that actually makes sense. But you remember, Grant, we go back. Remember when Chris Webber didn't want to re-sign? But then we started winning. We won a playoff.
You're going to have to give up a lot to get him, Dash. You're not getting him without giving up you're probably not getting him if Keegan Murray's not in the deal. And quite frankly, I wouldn't trade Keegan Murray. He's only in his second year. I think this guy's got stardom. And maybe you don't win a playoff series this year, but I'm looking at the long term of this franchise. I'm not looking just for this year. I would not trade Keegan Murray. Now, if you told me you could get a Dedecumbo, okay, but I would not trade Murray myself. That's just me.
You think Harrison Herder package with few picks wouldn't do it if he's not re-signing?
No.
Yeah, Masai's too.
Well, there were reports that the deal that initially was talked about, the deal that was talked about last week, centered around Herder, centered around Barnes, Davion, the guys you're talking about. But I'm kind of with Grant, guys. I mean, if you're going to give up a Davion, the only player outside of a Giannis, or like where Grant says I'll pick him up at the airport, that I would trade Keegan Murray for, that could be available at this trade deadline, that is turnkey ready to take this franchise and offense to the next level, Lauri Markkanen.
I would do that.
Else?
I would do that too.
Anybody else? Keegan's off limits to me.
Dash,
I agree.
Good stuff, man. We appreciate you taking the effort and the time to join us.
Like the beam.
Like the beam.
Yeah, well, you see, Rhino, this is a good show. I really appreciate you and getting all the calls going, and we'll do it again after the Milwaukee game. Not tonight, though. The Kings lose to Philadelphia. They go to 6th in the West. And again, they are catching Milwaukee on the second night of a back-to-back. We'll see if that makes a difference with the Kings and the Bucks. You have a good night, my friend, and a good weekend.
Hey, Napes, we can't leave the air until this knucklehead is addressed really quickly. You brought Dash up before I could bring this up.
I'm sorry.
Who in their right mind will trade for HB Herder or Davion at any fair market price when their value is very low? And as fans, we are talking about benching or removing them off the rotation. Which of any of the people in this conversation has been removed from a rotation?
No.
Outside of an injured Kevin Herder. Nobody has been removed from rotation. And I will have you know, there are executives around the NBA that are trying to figure out what is wrong with Kevin Huerter because they believe this guy can still play.
Of course.
Kevin Huerter has value. I think one thing, this Kings fan base, for as smart as it is, you don't understand how complicated this offense, this Sacramento Kings team runs. It is so complicated. It's so Grant and I have had conversations off air about would a traditional two guard even work in this offense. So you would be surprised what teams, what contenders, Matthew, would love to have a Davion Mitchell down the stretch as a defensive stopper behind Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yep.
You know, it's stupid, Matthew. They have a lot of value, man, more than you think.
Somebody said the Lakers would take Kevin Huerter in a heartbeat. I agree with you. I think they would as well. All right. On that note, we're going to get you to the weekend, my friend. Thank you very much. Kings and Bucks coming up next tonight. Not tonight. I want to say this. I love being able to talk to our fans. I think it's great. So keep that in the mind for the future. Join us on the post game. We love being able to talk to the fans. Thank you for you taking the time to come on and everything else. It really adds a lot to this show. And I know I'm speaking for Ryan as well. We greatly appreciate that. Kings and Bucks, pregame, halftime, postgame. We got it broken down for you right here on If You Don't Like That. Appreciate everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.